Joplin travelers.
What happened in the moments before a big rig and an SUV packed with 25 people collided in California, killing 13? I'm Deborah Alferone with the latest on the investigation.
And why vaccine passports could be the future of tourism.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The Joplin Regional Airport announces new flights to Chicago and Denver. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, more options for travel take flight this summer. United Express flights to and from Chicago and Denver will be operated by SkyWest Airlines. They're set to start on June 1st of this year and will run through May 31st of 2024, offering daily flights to both Chicago and Denver. Joplin officials say they're working with the airline to finalize the flight schedules. Pittsburgh firefighters will soon have a new place to practice their life-saving skills. The department is building a training tower on North Rouse. The new tower will be used for ground ladder training and will feature tubes to help train for fighting fires in confined spaces.
I've had people banging on my door trying to line up training for the day that it's done. So I anticipate that this prop will get a lot of use, that our folks will be out here on a regular basis doing all those different types of training.
Chief Riley says they expect construction to be finished within a few days. Mother Nature shouldn't hinder the construction process any. Michael Hayslip joins us with a first look at the forecast.
Getting a little spoiled here, Tanya, for the beginning of March as our temperatures already sitting around the 60-degree mark, and we're not quite done for the day as our temperatures are going to rise up close to 70 by the time it's all said and done. We're sitting at 65 in CJ. Let's go 64 in Chanute and 64 in Nevada as well. This is thanks in part to a little southerly breeze. Now, one thing I do want to point out is our humidity getting so low right now that we're down around 30%. And what that's going to do is cause an elevated fire risk as we work through portions of northeast Oklahoma and southern southwest Missouri, but also too, lack of wind chill. So we'll take that. As we look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker and our warnings and watches, I do want to point out every bit of the flood watch that has moved through the eastern edge of the Mississippi River Valley. Now, that's not a bad thing for us as the computer freezes. I kid you not. We're just stuck on this right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stall. This is called filling time in live television because we're going to have a low pressure system that's going to move in from the Pacific. And when it does, it's going to present us with rain. Now, nice thing about that is we're going to have a delightful Wednesday and Thursday. We're still stuck. Tanya and I had a great plan. We were actually going to have this and we were going to transition to that low pressure system, but we're going to have to restart the weather computer. And I'm not making light of this situation because I know that you actually have some serious news coming out just south of our low pressure system on the West Coast with a very, very serious and fatal car crash.
That's right. Investigators are trying to figure out what led to a car crash in California that left at least 13 people dead. One area of particular interest, why one of the vehicles, an SUV, was carrying more than 3 times the number of passengers it was designed to hold. CBS's Deborah Alferone has more.
Homeland Security in San Diego says it has initiated a human smuggling investigation after a 2-car crash near the Mexican border yesterday left more than a dozen people dead.
We need as many ambulances as you can handle right now.
Police say this 1998 SUV designed to hold 8 people was packed with 25 when it collided with a tractor trailer. California Highway Patrol says the middle and rear seats of the SUV were removed, making room for more people, but also making it less safe.
Some people were ejected onto the pavement, onto the ground, that passed away as a result of those injuries. Other people were found deceased within the vehicle, and then some of the walking wounded were able to pull themselves out of the vehicles.
The cause of the crash is still unclear. Among the factors investigators say they're looking at, the speed of the tractor trailer and whether the SUV stopped at a stop sign before it entered the highway. Police say the occupants of the SUV ranged in age from 16 to 53.
The important thing is that 13 people died in this crash. We owe it to the families of those that were killed and injured as well as the public to conduct a complete and thorough investigation.
In an unusual move, the National Transportation Safety Board has sent a team to investigate the crash. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News.
Investigators say the semi's 69-year-old driver was hospitalized and will likely survive. At least 10 rockets hit a military base in Iraq where around 2,000 U.S.-led coalition troops are stationed. A defense official tells CBS News no U.S. or coalition troops were wounded, but a civilian contractor died of a heart attack. Today's rocket attack follows Friday's U.S. airstrike on militias in eastern Syria that are backed by Iran. Today's attack also targeted the same base that Iran struck in January of last year in retaliation for the U.S.-directed drone strike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, your ticket to normalcy. Israel is already on board, and now a number of leading nations are looking into vaccine passports. And later, we're making an Italian Hoagie Stromboli in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Governments and businesses are considering a way for people to prove they've been vaccinated against COVID-19. So-called vaccine passports could determine who can travel, stay at a hotel, or even visit a bar. Israel is already using them, and the European Union just proposed them. The U.S. is still thinking about it. Roxana Sabiri reports.
Israelis must now scan in to get in. To gyms, hotels, even concerts like this.
It is all set in the telephone. It's very convenient.
For more than 3 million Israelis and counting, this is the ticket back to some kind of normalcy. The government-issued Green Pass shows personal details and proves they've had 2 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine. Now countries across Europe and beyond are considering similar so-called vaccine passports or immunity certificates to inject life back into a flagging tourism industry and revive businesses and hospitality, like pubs. The UK is studying whether to introduce vaccine certificates.
Yep, all good.
We've never thought in terms of having something that you have to show to go to a pub or a theatre. And so there are deep and complex issues.
Issues like potential discrimination against people who don't want a jab, along with those who can't get one for medical reasons or because there's not enough supply.
So these people won't be able to participate in life, in public life, in social life, in economic life in the same way as their counterparts who have been vaccinated.
Claire Wenham from the London School of Economics says data privacy is another concern.
Is it going to be something that's digital and tracks you? And that obviously opens a whole different range of conversations.
But as governments debate immunity certificates, businesses are pushing ahead. Some cruises and airlines, for instance, say they'll require proof of inoculation to board. The WHO tells CBS News it opposes requiring vaccines for travel as long as the global supply is limited and their ability to stop the spread of the virus is not yet clear. Roxana Saberi, CBS News, London.
Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
If your dinner routine is getting a little too routine, then join us today in the Test Kitchen.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Happened to hit 60 degrees to open up the month of March yesterday. Now, as we take a look at our weather almanac for this March 3rd, we've already had a high of 64. We're not going to hit that high of 81 degrees that happened back in 1983. But at the same point in time, it is a delightful start to the month of March. As we go back to last year, we were so wet to begin our month. We have to remember, we're already 2 inches down from where we were in 2020. And then March, April, and May is when we almost got historic as far as the amount of precipitation we were able to pick up. Now, by the time we get to the weekend, we are going to see some scattered rain, and then we'll start talking about thunderstorm activity, but that won't be until next week. But this is a friendly reminder that this is Severe Weather Preparedness Week, and so always a good idea to not only, 1, get your emergency kit together, also 2, if you have a weather radio, make sure it's functioning, change the batteries in it, make sure you got it tuned to the right signal, and also 3, talk to the kiddos. always an important thing as far as what they need to know, because with the delightful weather we're going to have, they're going to be running around the neighborhood after school. And while they don't have anything to worry about now, it's always good to just keep that top of mind for them as far as what they need to look at when we know severe weather is going to roll in. Also, too, Skywatch weather app. That is going to be a key function for you to have the utmost, first and foremost, information throughout our severe weather season. So all you have to do right now, we'll bring this back here at the end of the 7-day forecast as well. Dylan, if that's all right with you, my incomparable director up there, all you're going to have to do is grab your phone, take your camera, take a picture of that, and it's going to send you directly to the Skywatch weather app. Now, let's continue throughout the course of our day here, as we've got temperatures that are sitting very, very comfortably in the low to mid 60s. Let's go 64 in Joplin, 65 in Independence, and 61 in Nevada. As we progress through our day, it's going to be absolutely delightful. Tell you what, Dylan, I'm going to need you to go back to max 1, my friend, not on max 2, please, because we've got everything rebooted, and I think I'm ready to rock and roll. Famous last words. And yeah, here we go. Stay on max 2. I'll kill time. It's absolutely fine. There we go. So our temperature is very, very comfortable. No worries about anything like that. Now, as we get into the course of our week, we're actually going to have a couple repeat performances for Wednesday and Thursday, as far as lots of sunshine and very, very mild temperatures. We really don't need to worry about anything until we get to the end of the work week for the most part, because what we've got cooking off the West Coast is a big low pressure system. And what we'll do is we'll kind of take a look at this in particular as we see that low pressure working in off the Pacific. And what we're going to have is rain coming out of the west. Very unusual. You know, usually we talk about a whole lot of Gulf moisture that wants to work its way down here. But all those Gulf thunderstorms that we saw for the past couple of days, they've already moved out to the east. They're actually headed off to the Atlantic. As a matter of fact, the contiguous 48, no threat of any thunderstorm activity for today. What we're going to pay attention to, and I know this sounds a little bit bizarre, is this working its way toward Los Angeles just earlier today, making landfall. Big low pressure system. And it's really nothing serious, but it'll be kind of interesting because this thing will actually maintain stability and work its way toward the Rockies. Now, once it does, turns into snow, obviously, with the upper elevated areas. But then, once it gets on the west side or the east side of it, back into rain. They are looking at severe thunderstorm activity mainly along and south of I-40. Now, I-40, not 44. I-40, and so our rain, as it progresses towards us, looks relatively light. A little bit of a cold front on the backside of it that's going to drop us down into the 50s here for Friday. But at the same point in time, look at this nice rebound for Saturday and Sunday. Like I said, just a delightful start to March. Now, that's that thunderstorm activity I was talking about, wanting to rear its ugly head Tuesday evening and night. That's too far out to see exactly how severe it's going to be. But now that we're in March, we know the drill. And so once again, we said we'd bring it back for you just in case you wanted to go grab your phone and take a picture of it. The QR code, as we like to call it. You just take a picture of what's on your screen right now. That's going to deliver you to the Skywatch weather app. It is free. It is available for all your mobile devices. And once again, with this being the beginning of Severe Weather Preparedness Week and really the beginning of severe weather throughout the 4 states, Doug and Nick do such a fabulous job of keeping us updated because that has a tendency to happen, you know, evening into the late night hours. I'm not saying I skirt out of it. You know, don't want to skirt responsibility. I just want to emphasize how important and smart and intelligent those two are with keeping us updated on that.
Hey, there's many times that you come in 2 or 3 hours before your shift just to watch the stuff that's happening overnight.
They're the brains behind the operation. And like I said, hey, when severe weather hits, who do you think I'm listening to? Nick and Doug.
Yep. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Tech Sergeant Kenneth Wheeler in the United States Air Force. The Arma, Kansas native fought in Vietnam in 1969 and 1970. That's where he received the Distinguished Flying Cross. To Tech Sergeant Kenneth Wheeler, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Looking for a way to do dinner a little differently? Today's recipe starts with one of Howard's favorite go-to shortcuts, refrigerated pizza crust. And it just gets better from there. We're making an Italian hoagie stromboli in the Mr. Food Test kitchen.
If your dinner routine is getting a little too routine, then we have just the thing to mix it up. It's an overstuffed homemade Italian stromboli that'll have everybody running to the table. Come on, let me show you. It starts by unrolling a refrigerated pizza crust onto a cutting board. Now comes the fun part. We layer on some sliced ham, and that can be Italian style or whatever's on sale. Sliced pepperoni, smoked provolone cheese, and some roasted red peppers that we've drained really well. We sprinkle this with Italian seasonings and a bit of garlic powder before rolling it up jelly roll style. Then we put it on a baking sheet and finish it with some Parmesan cheese before popping it in the oven. The nice thing about this is there are no rules, so feel free to change up the meats and cheeses. When this comes out of the oven, call the troops to the table and divvy it up. Maybe have a bowl of marinara sauce for Duncan. To get the recipe for our Italian hoagie stromboli, simply use your phone, tablet, or computer to check out our website.
I love anything with pizza crust.
Me too. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen with Kelly, where today we found a pizza parlor way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
So I'm officially very hungry right now. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website, koamnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
Get outside and enjoy some fresh air. We're already pushing up into the mid-60s here at the noon hour, topping out around 70 degrees. More sunshine tomorrow and a little bit of rain working in from the west Friday. We'll really go from about midnight to noon, and after that clear off and have temperatures back in the 60s for the weekend.
All right, what do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, we're going to meet a 75-year-old woman who's boxing in a bid to battle the severe symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Why researchers say the non-contact version of the sport can improve symptoms and quality of life. Plus, should locally owned pharmacies be getting more doses of the coronavirus vaccine? We're going to hear from a local pharmacy owner who thinks so. And a Joplin Airport official gives details into the announcement of new flights this summer to Chicago and Denver. Hope you join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dal. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.